Welcome, truth seekers, to a new edition of Turkish Spotlight Secrets. The air in our studio feels heavy tonight, like a stage just before the curtain rises on a scene everyone will talk about but few will fully understand. What we're about to unpack isn't idle chatter or hallway whispers. It's a moment that may redraw the borders of performance on Turkish television. The names at the center of it need no decoration: the magnetic pull of Çağatay Ulusoy and the razor-sharp instinct of Hazal. But it isn't their fame pulling us in. It's what happened between them when the script said stop, and their artistry refused. The phrase everyone keeps using is simple and dangerous: the forbidden scene. Before we step through that door, perform our ritual. Subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, tap the bell so you don't miss a heartbeat. And, if you want to stand inside the circle where the real discussions happen, consider clicking join. Your support powers the light we aim into those corners others prefer to leave in the dark. Ready to cross the threshold? For weeks, the rumor lived as a vibration, barely audible, rattling through the industry like the faint tremor before a quake. People murmured about a charge on the set of a new project that finally unites two giants who have orbited each other for years. But the truth that spilled out eclipsed every early theory. This was not a secret romance, not a tantrum or a feud. It was something stranger, purer, and far more unsettling for the suits upstairs: a burst of unfiltered truth in front of a camera, a live wire of feeling the production christened forbidden. The official line is that it unfolded during a pivotal turn in the series, the kind of hinge where character destinies tilt and everything either breaks or becomes whole. On paper, the scene was small, almost perfunctory. But paper crumples when faced with two performers who work like tuning forks on the same frequency. With Çağatay Ulusoy and Hazal staring each other down, the moment refused to stay contained. Sources say improvisation took over. The scene elongated, grew fangs, found shadows the script hadn't drawn. The director, sensing a storm gathering, did not cut. He let it roll, and the narrative darkened into something almost too internal, too precise, too real. People in the room remember the pressure change. One technician, still rattled, described it as watching two fronts collide in a narrow space. The emotional impact, they say, blew past every expectation. It wasn't melodrama. It was a deep dive with no handrails. That's when the arguments began in hushed corners. Had they crossed a line? Do we even know where that line is when it comes to intensity and truth? I'll throw that to you. Is there a ceiling on emotional honesty in acting, or do we let art bruise if that's what it needs? Tell us in the comments. Members with the Join badge will see their thoughts first in line. To feel the magnitude, picture the setup. This was not a wide-open set with the usual army of bodies orbiting the stars. Sources say a minimal crew protocol was activated. The director cleared the floor. Only skeletal camera coverage, a single sound mined at the board, and the actors in the middle of a quiet that felt ceremonial. Phones seized. Doors locked. Access revoked. A stillness that felt as deliberate as choreography. The lighting wasn't generic either. They engineered a look that carved arrowed shadows into the space, giving the room an almost gothic candor. Not a scene. A pressure dome. What happened when the final word drifted into silence is the part people can't shake. No clap. No laugh. Not even the jittery shuffling of assistants angling toward powder brushes. Silence. The kind of silence that clings to your clothes on the way home. An assistant director claimed the stillness felt like a held breath that didn't know how to exhale. The crew, usually a chorus of efficient noise, stood there, unable to bridge the distance back to normal. And then there's the question you're dying to ask: what about Çağatay and Hazal? How do two people walk out of that? Witnesses say the cost was real. After cut, both of them needed to detach from the rawness they had mined. Not a quick espresso and a reset. Çağatay Ulusoy slipped inward, eyes quiet, shoulders set, as if negotiating with a version of himself still inside the scene. The director offered to halt the day. He refused, not out of bravado but discipline, a decision that read like stubborn respect for the work. Hazal Kaya, known for distilling tenderness and bite into a single look, retreated to her room with a closed door and a mirror that, for once, offered no answers. For a stretch, she let the character's ache run its course, then came back with a measured calm that suggested she had wrestled it into form. Together, they finished the day, the echoes of that moment reshaped into craftsmanship. The crew watched them differently after that, with the kind of regard you don't perform for. Later, the two sat with the director, a long, patient dissection of what had been captured. No diva theatrics. No defensiveness. Frame by frame, breath by breath, they traced the arc to see what it meant. They left no statement behind, no neat quote for the feed, and that silence was gasoline on the fire. What did they feel? Fear? Relief? A weight lifting or a weight settling in? From there, the locus of heat migrated to the edit bays and conference rooms where art meets policy. The question that lit social timelines was mercilessly simple: will the audience see the scene? The first cut reportedly arrived harder than anyone predicted. It had less sheen, more nerve. Management demanded alternatives. Variants were built and tested, each version dialing the same truth at a slightly different voltage. The nickname Forbidden stuck because each cut carried its own incitement, its own argument for and against itself. The streamer, sensing the fortune sitting on their servers, split into camps. One argued that the moment is the central pulse of the series, and any dilution would hobble the story's spine. The other wanted to minimize shock and keep the focus from tilting off the main arc. The push-pull was intense. Some analysts weighed in with strategies, sniffing opportunity. One camp said tease it ferociously in marketing but refused to show all in the episode, turning curiosity into a sustained engine. Another pitched hiding it behind digital exclusives, a premium lure to spike subscriptions. The production recalibrated every beat of its rollout. Then came the blink and you miss it clip in a recent trailer, a sliver of an expression on Hazal's face as if something inside finally broke, and a look from Çağatay that read like recognition and refusal at the same time. Fans saw it, clipped it, slowed it, spun theories like thread from air. Comments flooded in. If they air the whole thing, the series changes the conversation. Welcome to accidental guerrilla marketing. Security went cinematic. New rules arrived like a crackdown. Anyone caught recording on personal devices would be instantly removed. Conversations about the sequence were held in small rooms with doors that closed softly but firmly. We're told that the files themselves sit inside encryption so severe that post teams only access fragments, never the full adult heartbeat at once. A digital maze keeps the scene intact and unseen, which tells you exactly how explosive they believe it to be. Inside the edit, you could cut the tension with a lens cap. Editors know what they're handling. The director refuses to budge. Without this, he argues, the narrative lacks its soul. He sees it as the hinge that explains everything before and everything after, born from chemistry you can't force and a set atmosphere that may never be replicated. Social media, meanwhile, isn't just buzzing. It's insisting. Every frame of promotional material is analyzed like a crime scene. Body language decoded. Breath patterns debated. The forbidden scene has already fulfilled its first duty. It has made the project feel like an event long before the premiere. What fascinates me most is how reality on that set outpaced fiction. A professional relationship between two artists, built on trust and precision, burst into something that might be too potent to package neatly. If the company chooses to release it, we may witness a new boundary fall. If they sand it down, the legend will probably swell in the absence. Either way, the story of what occurred between Hazal Kaya and Çağatay Ulusoy that night will live as a reference point: love and injury, authority and surrender, the gravitational pull of silence after sound. Whether we ever see the full and unsoftened version, the echo will live in every beat that follows. Now I want your strategy. If you sat in the producer's chair, what would you do? Roll the dice and go all in, or keep the crown jewel in a vault and feed the mystique? Talk to me below. And if you're here for the way we break down the industry's hidden machinery, Give this video a like so more people can join the conversation. Before we close, a final scene. Imagine the two of them, the room almost empty again, watching themselves on a monitor. No vanity in their posture, just a quiet measure of responsibility. They know what it means to put something this true into the world. They also know the price. Maybe that's why, after the playback ends, neither reaches for the easy word. They sit with it. They respect the silence that the moment earned. Tell us one more thing in the comments. Which other pairings would you dare to watch under this kind of pressure? Who do you want to see risking this depth next? And remember, if you want the most intimate access to stories like this, there's no better home than Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Subscribe, share, and consider joining as a member by clicking join. Your support keeps the lines open, the doors cracked, and the questions sharp. Thank you for walking through this with us. We'll be back in the next video to keep the pulse of fame steady and strong. Until then, keep watching, keep wondering, and keep your ears to the ground.